The Ashes series are not too far away. It's been 22 years since the last Ashes series. Kicks off on 25th of October at Wembley Stadium. Both of the sides have announced their squads. I'm just going to have a chat about who is going to be playing in these key positions for Australia and England. First up in fullback position, we have contenders Dylan Edwards and Reece Walsh. James Tedesco, he pulled out of the squad before it was announced due to injury. So we have Reece Lightning of the Brisbane Broncos up against the Dylan Edwards of Penrith Panthers. Both of these players are now Premiership winners. Reece Walsh offers very attacking style of rugby league. He can score tries from anywhere in the field and set up tries for his centres and wingers also. Dylan Edwards, he brings a bit more of a balance in terms of defence and attack. And he's also played in last year's Pacific Championship, so he does have a bit more experience than Reece Walsh on the international stage. But a lot of rumours going around that Reece Walsh will be picked as the number one fullback. We'll have to wait until the first test to see if that rumour is true. In my eyes, I think Reece Walsh, for his performance this year, will get the nod ahead of Dylan Edwards. But we'll wait and see what happens with that decision. On the wing, Josh Adokar, he is a late inclusion into the Australian squad due to Zach Lomax's omission. And also we have top NRL try scorer Mark Nawanga Naze. He's had a great year with the Roosters. He is departing rugby league and going back to play rugby union next year, so he'll want to give his best for Australia before he heads back to rugby union. In the centres, we're kind of sport for choice even without Latrell Mitchell and the Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow. We have Katoni Staggs, who's had an absolutely amazing year for the Brisbane Broncos. We have Hegamat Sibasaki, also the other centre for the Brisbane Broncos. He's had a stellar year and shown his class in attack and in defence as well for the Brisbane Broncos. So England better watch out for these two centres. I think they'll make some dent in the England defence. Also in the halves, we're kind of sport for choice again. We have Cameron Munster and Tom Dearden, who've had great years for their clubs and states as well. Tom Dearden and Cameron Munster won the State of Origin for Queensland this year. And we also have Nathan Cleary, who is a multiple NRL Premiership winner with the Penrith Panthers. So Kevin Walters has a lot of options in the halves. We also have Ethan Strange and Mitchell Moses, who are also class acts for their clubs. So I'm sure we'll see all these players played at some point in this test series, but we'll wait and see who lines up at the first game at Wembley Stadium. In the forwards, again, Australia have never been shy of great forwards. They will be without Payne Haas, who's switched his alliance to Samoa, but they do have Ruben Cotter and Lindsay Collins. They also have Lindsay Smith from the Penrith Panthers. He's been a bit of a shock conclusion in the squad. And in the second row, we have players like Angus Crichton, who played in the last year's Pacific Championships. He's a great runner of the ball and always scores tries from kicks from the halfbacks. So watch out for Angus Crichton. And also we have Hudson Young, again very similar to Angus Crichton, is a hard runner of the ball and has had a great year for the Canberra Raiders also. So we look forward to seeing these players play in the first test series for Australia. In the hooker position, we have Harry Grant, and we also have Blake Brayley, who's been picked for his first test series. So we'll wait and see whether he makes his debut at some point. I do expect him to be on the interchange bench to give Harry Grant a break when needed. But I think Australia will definitely start with Harry Grant, who's had a great year for the Melbourne Storm. And he did play in last year's Pacific Championship and has that experience on the field that will definitely help Australia when things are getting tough. Lock position number 13. No surprise, we have the Penrith Panthers captain Ayaza Yo. He'll captain Australia. Again, he did really well last year in the Pacific Championships. So no reason to change the captaincy. He's a great leader and speaks up when needed. So Australia are in good hands with Ayaza Yo. So on to the England squad. Shaun Wane has announced his 24-man side to take on the Australians. The notable omissions for them are Bulldogs prop Luke Thompson and the Man of Steel Jake Connor from the Leeds Rhinos. He'll be very disappointed he hasn't been included in the England squad, and it is a bit odd that the best player of the year in English Super League hasn't been included in the England squad. So there's obviously some relationship issues there with Jake Connor and Shaun Wane, and also Billy Smith. He did put his hand up to select England in this year's Ashes series, but he hasn't been selected to represent England in the Ashes series. The shock inclusion is AJ Brimson. So he's also played for Queensland and he currently plays for Gold Coast Titans, but he's born in Australia, but he qualifies to play for England due to his mum, and his siblings were also born in England also. So he could make his England debut at the first Test series against Australia. We also have Jack Welsby, who could also be in contention for the other fullback position. He can also play in centre if needed. The wingers in contention are Dominic Young, the former Sydney Rooster and current Newcastle Knights. Will be one of the first selected in the England squad, I think. He's played in previous Test matches for England and is a try scoring machine when he gets going, so we very much look forward to seeing Dom Young run out for England in this Test series. We also have likes of Tom Johnston, who's also had a great year for Wakefield Trinity, and we also have the likes of Harry Newman, who plays for Leeds Rhinos. He can play centre or play on the wing, so there's lots of options really for Shaun Wane for wingers and centres. We also have Hull KR's Joe Burgess, the former Wigan Warrior, won the English Super League with Hull KR this year. So he'll be another big pick for Shaun Wane and to bring some experience into the England squad, and also can score some great tries also. In the centres, no surprise, we have Herbie Farnworth. He's a great centre and has done a really good year with the Dolphins, considering he had picked up an injury the back end of the year, so there's a little bit of a risk to include him into the squad, but as long as he's fit, Herbie can bring some attacking play into the England attacking line, so we look forward to seeing Herbie Farnworth play in the centres. We also have Jake Wardle, the Wigan Warrior, can play centre and also wing. Callum Watkins, also a bit of a shock inclusion in the England squad. He is 35 now, so he can play second row or centre. So we'll see where Shaun Wane fits him in, if he does play at all. In the half-back position, we have George Williams. He may partner Mikey Lewis in the halves, so we'll have to wait and see. George Williams has a great experience in the NRL with Canberra Raiders. He's also played lots of games in the English Super League with Wigan and his current club Warrington Wolves, so he'll be a key addition into the England squad. Depends who he plays with. He might play with Mikey Lewis, might play with AJ Brimson also, who can play in the halves. So it's just important really that England have good experience in the halves to kind of match Australia's firepower in this Test series. In the forwards, we have Mikolaj Alensky, the big Leeds Rhinos forward. He could partner Morgan Smithies and John Bateman and Kyle Pearce-Paul also in the forwards. They bring a lot of NRL experience, so I'm sure that Shaun Wane will include them in the squad. Also, like I said earlier, Callum Watkins can also play second row and give England some options there. Morgan Smoothies can also play lock, so he might play there with Morgan Knowles, possibly, but we'll wait and see what happens with that. Also, we have Mike McMeekin, who can play second row or prop. So there's important decisions to be made to make sure that England match Australia in the forward pack. Otherwise, England may struggle in this Test series if they don't make the right selections in the right positions. At hooker, we have Darryl Clark. He has lots of English experience. The former Warrington Wolves and Curran St Helens hooker has got to be guaranteed number 9. He'll bring a lot of experience and be crucial in England's attack. Hull KR's Jez Litton may be an option from the bench to play hooker also as well. Morgan Knowles, who I mentioned earlier, he's heading to the NRL to play for the Dolphins next year, so he will bring a lot of experience into the England setup, and will learn a lot in the NRL when he goes to the Dolphins. The final 17 should be very interesting on the first day of the Test series. Australia are number 1 in the world for a reason and have many threats all over the field, and England will have to make sure they match them in every position to give themselves a chance. It's crucial that England win the first Test, otherwise I think they'll struggle to get a win out of the other 2 games. Just a reminder of all 3 games. The first game is at Wembley Stadium on October 25th. Second game is at Everton's new stadium and Liverpool on October 1st. The third game is at Headingley Stadium in Leeds on November 8th. That's it for me. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like any of our content, and we'll see you next time.